Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally every parent needs to be thinking about: managing AI at home. I'm going to be your guide as we make this huge, absolutely crucial shift from being passive tech policers to active co-learners in our kids' AI journeys. The world is changing incredibly fast, and honestly, we all need a practical framework to handle it. So let's jump right in.
Okay, to put things into perspective, let's look at a pretty staggering statistic: 75%. That is 3 out of every 4 teens who are already using AI companion chatbots. They're chatting with these systems all the time. But here's the catch: only about a third of parents actually know it's happening. Our kids are early adopters, you know? They're weaving these tools into their everyday lives way faster than we realize.
Which brings us to Section 1, the digital supervision gap.
So this massive discrepancy between what kids are doing and what we actually know about is happening right under our noses. To really understand it, we've got to throw out that old school idea of just tracking screen time. Instead, we need to think of it as a digital ecosystem. It's this pervasive, highly interactive environment made up of smartphones, apps, and generative algorithms that deeply shapes how kids learn, play, and connect. They aren't just passively staring at a static screen anymore, they're actively interacting with machines that respond back to them.
And because today's AI has such incredibly lifelike voices and conversational abilities, younger minds naturally perceive them completely differently than we do. This leads to something experts call synthetic animism. Basically, it's the tendency for kids to attribute conscious intent, real emotions, and moral agency to these inanimate algorithms. They essentially treat them as genuinely empathetic friends. It's wild, right? But this shift carries a real, tangible danger. Think about it. On one hand, you have AI companions. They offer this frictionless, infinitely patient, totally non-judgmental conversational loop. They're literally programmed to agree with you and never, ever get tired. On the other hand, you have human peers. Real relationships are messy, they're volatile, and they require active conflict resolution and compromise. If a developing child constantly turns to a perfectly compliant AI surrogate for their social and emotional needs, their real-world interpersonal skills can seriously atrophy. They just lose that essential ability to handle human friction.
Let's move into Section 2, AI risks and rewards. So, obviously, this new tech brings incredible rewards, but also significant risks to a child's development. It's a really delicate balance. For instance, AI can beautifully support students, especially neurodivergent learners, like kids with ADHD. It can provide executive function support, break down overwhelming tasks into bite-sized pieces, and simplify complex academic texts. It's a real game changer. But completely unmediated use, that carries serious risks. To ensure AI safety at home, we have to be super vigilant about cognitive offloading, which is basically when kids just let the machine do all the heavy lifting and thinking for them. Plus, there are massive privacy concerns and algorithmic bias, which happens when a system is poorly aligned with human values and real-world diversity.
And that leads us to Section 3. AI as a learning partner. So how do we make sure the benefits actually outweigh those risks? Well, we do it by transforming AI from a quick mental shortcut into a powerful learning partner. That's our primary goal at home, fostering this exact mindset shift. AI is absolutely not there to do the work for them. AI becomes a tutor, not a ghostwriter. We really want our children to use these tools to scaffold their thinking, to help them brainstorm, and to test their understanding without ever replacing their own capacity to reason. To actually pull this off, we need to teach a whole new kind of literacy. We need to teach prompting not just as computer coding, but as this awesome equation of structured executive thinking. It looks like this: context, plus a clear goal, plus defined constraints, plus instructional examples, plus a verification method. When we teach kids to structure their AI interactions this way, we're transitioning them from being just passive consumers of an app into intentional designers of their own learning journey.
So instead of banning AI outright, which honestly doesn't work anyway, encourage these specific structured uses at home. Tell them to use prompts like "explain this concept like I'm 11 years old," or "quiz me on this specific textbook chapter," or my personal favorite, "help me outline my essay but I will write it." These are fantastic examples because in every single one of them, the child is still doing the heavy cognitive lifting. The AI is just the assist.
All right, Section 4, teaching kids to verify.
Now, you might be wondering, what happens when the AI is wrong? Because AI models are probabilistic machines, they're highly prone to hallucinations, which is just a fancy way of saying they confidently make things up. So the absolute most vital skill we can teach right now is continuous validation. You can literally sit down and walk your kids through these exact fact-checking steps to make sure they maintain strong, independent reasoning. First is lateral reading. Teach them to open up multiple browser tabs and cross-examine claims across diverse, trusted sites. Second is upstream verification, tracing the information all the way back to the primary source, like the original study or dataset. And third, the rule of three. Make it a hard and fast household rule that any critical AI-generated fact has to be verified by 3 independent, reputable sources before it's accepted as true.
And hey, if you have younger kids, say around 5 to 7 years old, you can actually introduce concepts like AI alignment and bias without even looking at a screen. Try this completely unplugged activity called Fair's Fair. Just ask your children to draw a typical school teacher, then gather up the drawings and compare them to spot any patterns in gender, race, or age. Once you do that, you can naturally explain that computers learn the exact same way, from limited human examples. If an AI is only ever shown images of one specific type of person, it's going to make unfair assumptions. It is such a brilliant, tactile way to physically demonstrate how these systems learn and exactly why human oversight is so crucial.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5. Cultivating uniquely human skills. As we prepare our children to navigate a deeply AI-driven society, our ultimate focus shouldn't just be on tech skills. Honestly, we have to heavily invest in the core competencies that machines simply cannot replicate. While AI is undeniably incredible at calculating probabilities based on past data, matching patterns, and spitting out average responses, humans bring something completely different to the table. What humans do best is exercise boundless creativity, apply deep empathy, engage in critical thinking, and use moral reasoning. Think of it this way. AI only looks at the past. Humans provide the imagination and context for the future.
And here is the best part. You don't need expensive coding camps or fancy tech to build these human advantages. You cultivate them through everyday, real-world parenting. Practice collaborative problem-solving with your kids instead of just handing them the answers. Make discussions about everyday ethics a routine part of family life, like when you're talking about the news over dinner. Teach emotional awareness so they can actually understand the unmet needs underlying their feelings. And seriously, encourage good old-fashioned, open-ended physical play to build real spatial reasoning. That, right there, is their true competitive advantage.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. Are we raising kids who can use AI, or are we raising kids who can't think without it? Our job is to intentionally use this technology to accelerate our children's potential. We need to ensure it serves as a powerful tool for them, rather than a replacement for their incredible, uniquely human capacity to think. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this empowers you to navigate the synthetic era with absolute confidence.